Welcome to this video. My name is Marie, the Automation Junkie. Through this training series on SuiteDash, I'll take you from an amateur to an expert level. Let's get started. Right, so welcome. The first thing that we're going to talk about is going to be the platform branding. So platform branding is normally where we start inside of a setup. The reason why I start with platform branding is because this is going to give the entire platform the look, the visuals. I like doing it this way so that people can just see their branding before they start to, and replaces the SuiteDash branding. As you can see, it's already kind of taken over here with my colors. When you're first inside of SuiteDash, one of the things you'll see is everything says SuiteDash, everything from the custom URL down to the logos and all of the colors. So to start to change that, it would be by going to platform branding. Normally you can come in and it's already there, but if it's not, you'll go to this menu item here. You're going to see this Your Branding menu, and this is where we're focusing. So you're going to start with platform branding. At the top, you're going to see logo and preset themes. The preset themes are just going to change the overall cover. So you have like these pretty colors. I like this color actually. It changes the preset, so it changes all of the additional colors down here for the platform. But for the most part, you can customize it if you choose to. I'm going to go down in order so you can understand what each of them mean. So there's an option in here for force dark mode. Dark mode is an actual theme that can be initiated via this nice dark mode trigger or toggle here. I don't use dark mode, but it is really cool when it's in dark mode. It's kind of like an invert type of vibe. You also will have this section where you have this dashboard logo. So the dashboard logo is going to be presented up here. So the dashboard logo is the first thing that people will see at the top left. So that's where you will change this. You can also copy this over, and I like to do this drag and drop bit because it's the easiest thing. And this is going to all affect dark mode, because sometimes you want to do it in dark mode as well, but you may want to change it to be a different logo. So they gave you that option to do dark mode in a different color. Then you have the mobile friendly logo. The mobile friendly logo, a lot of people are not going to understand what this is, because not at this time does SuiteDash have a app, but they do have like a collapse field that kind of presents you with a mobile friendly logo. So this is where that will initiate there. And again, I just copy and pull it over. The beautiful thing is that SuiteDash also has these font themes that are using Google Fonts. So the library is going to come specifically from Google Fonts. And if you don't see one in here, maybe ask them about it, but I think they have pretty much all of them, because you can even filter it and see all of the fonts here. Please just take a minute to look for your actual fonts and see exactly, what you like. I like to do this by clicking this button and then testing them out to see which one I really like. I don't think that did much of anything. Let's try. Okay. So for the most part, you can also change the font weight. The font weights are varied to the actual style font itself. So if you have any font size that you like, you can adjust that there. So you can make this font family 700, or you can make it 400. Those are the two options. You can also change the font style in itself, but sometimes there's only normal, or if you have italics or things like that, you can do that there. The secondary header font can be changed as well, and that also can be utilized in different areas of the platform. You can see that adjusted here because it's not the primary headers, it's actually the secondary headers. So I can make those adjustments as I like. Please just think through the process when you're doing this, because even though it's changing here and it might be visual for you here, it may not be in other places. So you can change the font weight if they have a different weight, and you can change the font style. Same thing for general text. It does the same thing as well, where you are able to change those, and you can see that it adjusts these styles here as well. I like to pretty much use the same throughout, unless I'm being very unique and I want to use different ones. I like to use pop-ins, but I can use anything that I choose to kind of give some more variety, and then I can also change the weight per the style. So if I wanted to make the headers a little bit darker, I can do that here. Moving down to the platform colors, as I mentioned up top, the platform colors are specific to the entire platform. So the primary color will be the primary color that is displayed everywhere. And then you have the text color, which will be literally just changed. Oh, I don't know why that happened, but changed based on, I think it's a button, but changed based on the actual type of color that you want. I like to make it unique to my platform, so I'll adjust it the way I want. And then you can also change the icon color to whatever color you want. You can see at the left that it changed. Let's just keep in mind that it also should just match within your color scheme. You also have the ability to change the loading line that's on the animation. I have not personally used this because I don't need it, but you can make it whatever color you want. If you, for say, wanted to just go back to default, you can always press this reset button and it takes you back to the default colors that are there that just match the actual theme that you chose up here, okay? The other thing down here is going to be the advanced platform colors. This is going to be specific to the sidebar. So anything that you change here, you can make the sidebar colors darker. You can change the percentage here to say, I want it to be 80% darker. I can make it lighter and make this whatever percentage of lighter. Or you can choose a custom color in itself. So if I wanted to choose red or white, I can do that just because it would all be custom to that sidebar. Same thing here with this. This is just the avatar background. So this is indicating this here. I can make this whatever color I choose, just so that it can tie out to my colors as well. And then the menu background as well, you can choose this to be darker, you can make it lighter, or you can have it custom, and that changes that sidebar right there. So those are the basic knowledge that's there. You can also disable this, which will just keep the platform in one distinct color. So you won't have like a hover color or anything like that. But when you change it, you have the hover color that is associated with the sidebar avatar here. Right now it looks all crazy, so I'm gonna choose colors that make a little bit more sense. But you can have those kind of flexibilities and adjustments as you need. You have the background color controls as well here. I like to use this if I'm going to just use a color for my background. I don't use colors. I use the background platform itself, like a background itself, like a wallpaper. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to disable this and I'm going to go further down so you can understand what I meant. The UI UX elements, it kind of creates a more modern view when you have it on. If it's off, it gives you more of those square buttons, but when it's on, it gives you more like a luxury type of vibe. I always like to have it on so that it's just giving more rounded avatars and borders. This is where I mentioned the background for the platform itself. So if I were to choose any random image, and I don't even know if I have a good random image in here, let's use this one. If I were to choose a background image, it would change the entire background image to this image that is used here. Again, you have the options to change that as well inside of the dark mode. So you can replace it, you can make it different, you can do all the things to make it custom. The other great thing is that you can now change the titles to customize it to the actual fitting presentation that you want. And then there's this text color that you want to change, which is the blocks and the text inside of here. But then you can also change the shadow. So if you wanted the shadow to look a little bit darker, you can change the transparency. If you want it to be more gold or whatever the case is, I'm going to actually pick this color and utilize that and then make it a little bit darker or lighter rather. So you can see that showing up there. So it kind of gives more of an effect there on that end. Then you also have the account confirmation customer logo. So this is going to be the logo that is used on the actual confirmation when they're signing up for their account. So this is what it kind of looks like. It's defaulted to the SuiteDash one right now. I like, again, the drag and drop features. So I have like this drop zone tool that I use so that I can easily drag and drop things down. And then I'm going to move that and change it over here. So now it's going to replace that background and use it here. You can also update the background itself if you wanted to, and then you can also change the colors itself if you wanted to. So we're coming down towards the end. And so here you have the actual loading screen. So the loading screen can also be customized to a degree. You have the ability to change the color. You can change the background color. You can change how the animation shows. You can change the logo size if you're choosing to upload your own logo or loader. And you can also change those loader animations if you wanted to just use one that's already embedded inside of SuiteDash. It also does these image animations. So if you're using an image, you can use them to your, I like this one. You can see how it works. I also like now the transparency type of vibe where I don't have to be completely blocked out. I can see what's on the screen on behind me, and it just slides up. If I wanted to change it to where it fades, I can also do that. So instead of it now sliding up, it will just fade away. So that's what that does. The custom CSS is a space that is really meant for coders. If you don't know coding, I would say to just leave it alone. If you do and you have some coding that you want to use for different UI or any different abilities that coding can do, you can take a deeper dive there. There's going to be another video on that, so we'll talk through that a little bit more later. And then you have the white labeling. So we all know white labeling is specific to the customization of the platform. So if you take the second to just hover over this little question mark, it'll tell you what it will do. The white labeling just really means that the super admin will have access to this. So if you don't have it toggled off, that means the admin will have access to it. However, if you just have it toggled on, only the super admin will have access to it, okay? You can hide also the secure API options, which will restrict it from any admin. You can hide the super admin within the platform itself. This scenario is only if you guys are going to be creating a platform for someone else on someone else's behalf, and you are the super admin. You don't want to be seen because you're not a part of their company or whatever the case is. You would hide that there. And then the axe button is normally at the bottom. I've hidden mine already, but it's normally at this bottom here, this left. And that's what you can hide. It's really accessible to the internal, so the admin or the super admin role. Then you have the template library, which will give you the ability to disable or enable this template library here. I say leave it open, but if you want to hide it, you can. And then you have the last thing, which is the SuiteDash Academy. SuiteDash Academy is really just going to be, you want to specify. Moving on, we're going to go to the email branding. So the email branding is going to be a different space as well, where you're going to be customizing it based on your company. So for this, you're going to take the time to connect your actual email sending method. First thing you want to do is make sure that your company is actually lined up the way that you want it to be. So Golden and Tech Savvy is this company's name, and the company name to insert on the subject line will also be the same unless you want to change it, because these are also customizable. I normally like using two methods when connecting my email. I like to use the domain verified sender. This is just another security step where I know that my domain is going to be sent because it's verified. So it just kind of gives you more of that security and the deliverability for when you're sending emails. And then I also connect my account, if it's Gmail or if it's going to be Microsoft. Those are the two places that I always do. One of the key things to note is that when you add your domain, you're also going to make sure that you activate the transactional emails, because this is going to be where you're able to receive those transactional emails directly to that email address. Same thing with when you're doing it for the Gmail or the Microsoft, you're going to do the same thing and then activate those two options for transactional and marketing emails as well. Down at the bottom here, you're going to have the ability to change the logo. You can make your logo a submark. You can make it the actual logo. This is going to go inside of the email itself. You can also change the logo positioning to being left, right, center, or hidden. I like it to be either left or center, depending on how your style is. The greatest thing as well is you can change the main background, because sometimes you don't want it to be the plain Jane white. You want it to actually be a different branding color. You could do that and separate the footer with a different color if you chose to do that. You have the option to add everything, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and TikTok links. Those links are all customizable, so you're able to add your links separately in here, which is fantastic. It will all be added into the footer as an icon. So it does not show up as a link, it shows up as an icon. And last but not least, you have the copyright text. The copyright text can be added as just a regular, what you see here is what you get. So you're able to add, I wouldn't add images or anything like that, but I would update this. This is a dynamic field, which it updates the current year every year. This is your company name that's defaulted, so you can change this to whatever you like. People have the all rights reserved type of thing here. You can change it if you choose to. Another thing that I see people do is also add their URL here. So they add their link to add that. And that kind of concludes where we're going to go now into the email templates. So email templates is another location that is something I do in the first wave of setting things up. And this is something that is going to be unique to you. There's a ton of default templates that you do not have to change because the system has already formulated things that work best for the flows. However, if you want to be unique and change things, you can. I always say to update the portal access invitations first, because those are going to be what's going to be, unique to your business. If you want to invite someone in a different way, you have 3 options: internals, externals, company, and those are the options that you'll change. For internals are anyone that has already been added into your platform. Externals are people who've never added anything to your platform, meaning that they've never filled out a form or anything like that. And then company is just based on the company itself. So you have the user as just an individual, and then you have the company as a company. Those are the 2 types of users that you have in here. You can update this with pictures, GIFs. You cannot use emails because that is not a form of something you can send via an email right now. However, you have the ability to use these placeholders, so you can take the specifics of a first name, last name, and all the things. Keep in mind that there's only one thing you can put in the subject, which is a company name. And then there's only, and there's a few things you can put inside of the body. This company is your company. So it's not their company, it's your company. So just keep that in mind. It's just going to say, for example, welcome to Golden and Tech Savvy, and then it will have the subject name here. So just keep that in mind. You can also just send a test to yourself. It does allow you to send it to an admin inside of here by using a drop down, or you can send it to an actual test email, populate it there. It does not populate the actual placeholders inside of the test email, so keep that in mind. But if you ever want to just go back to the default, you can always reset it, and it'll give you this pop-up to say, yep, I want to reset it. Everything is able to be adjusted, and for the most part, if you wanted to just find an email that, let's say, for example, is a kickoff form submission, you want to change the default ones of that, you can absolutely do that. So anything that you see inside of here, and I'm going to go back. Anything that you see inside of this beautiful layout here, you can change. They're all specific to the different toolkits. So if you wanted to change something from a portal page, if you wanted to change something from the internal messages, you can do that. So that kind of concludes through now, and we're going to go to the custom URL and logo. I love setting this up next because of the fact that I can choose my domain URL, I can feel fancy, I can do all the things, and I can kind of solidify a lot of the white labeling items. So what I do here is you're reading through step-by-step instructions. The first thing that I do is I read step 1, which is me going to my CNAME. So I'm going to take you through the process of doing that and how it would get set up. Okay, so the first thing that I would do, and I would go to domains.google.com or wherever your domain is located, and you're going to manage your domain. Now, they do already have instructional videos inside of here, so if you wanted to take a look at this video before you started doing this, that's completely fine. When you actually your domain, you're going to be able to take the first stab and just do the initial setup yourself. Domain URLs to get set up. So the way that I do it, I'm going to go to my URL. And of course, I want to show you in real time because this is something that's beneficial. Let's say that I'm going to go to, I have a lot of domains, people. Just have a lot of them. All right, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my DNS settings, and then I'm going to go to my manage custom records. What I'll do is create a new record, and then I'm going to label it what I want it to be. So it says these are going to be my domains that it's going to be pointing. So I always use the first one because the first one works fine. I'm going to check this box, and it's going to give me the ability to begin. I'm going to call this golden, right? Dot, not that. So golden dot, and then it's going to be the end of this. So I'm going to put golden here. And as you see it reflecting here, this is going to be the URL that is going to be showcased. And I can't copy it, but it will be golden, and I can just copy it from here. Right? So golden.royalvaacademy.com. What it will then do is it's going to lock it in and go through the process. Now, if I went ahead and saved that, it will just take it through that process. And so if I say golden here, I'm going to put the domain that I copied here and hit save. What's going to happen? Oh, the one important thing I forgot to do is put a CNAME and then put the actual domain name. And then save that. It's going to go through this correct CNAME and make sure that everything's locked in. You don't have to do anything. The only thing that I would say is just make sure that the domain CNAME is connected. It would automatically do all the things. It normally pops up like this, and I press OK, and it will go through the checklist. It takes about an hour to kind of finalize, but it can take up to 24 hours depending on your actual DNS settings. Once that's done, I'm going to show you guys exactly what's next. So I'm going to circle back to this because it does take a minute to go. So custom menus are going to be where we are able to adjust the sidebar. We can create anything from, and I'm going to expand this a bit, anything from a direct link. We can do specific portal pages. We can hyperlink it there. We can do specific landing pages. We can create a menu for just a kind of like a home button, which is going to go to their start page. We can link it to a custom field. We can even do other items by taking them to projects, to files, to calendars, things like that. Most likely, we'll be using this for a majority of things. I like to do this in a unique way. I like to create folder links. So if, for example, I'm going to use this as test. I like to just create, I like to say this is my start page, right? Inside of this, I'm now going to see that it's been added to the bottom. You can see it also at the bottom here. There's a few things that I didn't do. So you can create a auto template trigger, which will go into auto templates in another video. But you can create an auto templates trigger, which says if this button is pressed, then do something else. We can also do open a new tab, which just means it'll open it into another tab instead of opening it in the same window. And I can also provide it with a nice logo, an icon. I'm going to use this one just because, and I'm going to save it. So what I did now is I added the icon there. If I click into this itself, well, the great thing is that I'm able to actually use the show sub items menu. And when I do that, then I can create other items inside of here that's going to link to this. So I can create another, link underneath that to say portal. So what you're going to see in a second is that now I'm able to actually have drop downs inside of there. So I can even do, I'll do a direct link and I'll just link it random places. So now instead of it being just a singular location, now it's a drop down menu where I have these different links that I can add specifically inside of here. And I can do how many I want. Doesn't matter. and I can literally have the different auto templates kind of trigger based on what I wanted them to trigger. So you can see that all the things are added in there. So that is the simplified way of doing the custom menus. However, it goes even into a more extended space. So you see these little eyes on here. What these eyes do is it allows you to control the visibility per the menu item. I can have this shown only to a super admin. I can have it shown only to the admin. I can have it shown to only a prospect or a client. I can even dumb it down to a location specifically for a circle, or actually hide it from that circle or make it only visual for a circle. So you have those kind of ways to just narrow it down into that space. Please keep in mind that these are custom to your needs, and you can also move them however you feel like moving them. So if I wanted to move it all the way up, so it's my first one, I could do that. I can get rid of it completely. And then let's say, for example, I'm switching things around and I'm like, oh man, I can't remember where things were. I can simply reset it and it does just go back into its own restored default, so that I can be able to navigate it back to normal. A lot of times when I'm going through this, the first things that I like to do is just make things make sense to me. So for me, office doesn't really make as much sense as finances will, because it's kind of dealing with all the finances. So if I put finances here, then if I look at this, I see invoices, I see proposals, I see all the things there. I can also call it backend support. I can call it whatever I want. If CRM doesn't make sense to me, I can change it to more contacts. But I can also go into that sub menu and I can say, well, companies doesn't really make sense to me, or circles doesn't really make sense to me. So instead of using circles, I can call it groups. And then that kind of gives me the flexibility of just making. The next is going to be the staff and menu section. So the staff and team menu, team structure is pretty cool because you're able to add a team member based on your like and fitting. So with the staff members, you have the ability to set their role. The good thing is that you can always go up, but you can't go down. So if you put someone as an admin, you cannot put them as a project manager later. You would have to delete them and change their role altogether. But if you put them as a project manager, you can move them up to an admin anytime. So that's the flexibility there. You can also add them on a team if you pre-create a team prior to making them as a staff. You can add their email, you can add their first name, you can do all the things here. You can even change your display name. You can add their phone number if you choose to. It's really up to you because this is creating their profile. You can have a set folder generator. We'll go through generators later, but you can have a generator already created for them for things that are needed. You can select any kind of LMS product that you need them to have pre-coming in. So it could be like a training course for them or whatever it is that you want to kind of have them solidified on. And then you can onboard them using a flow, because if you wanted to take their W-9 or any details that you want to keep on in-house, you can do that. You can also set their hourly rate, because if you're going to be paying them, you can keep this as private or you can set it as local or, visible to them. You can do that there, and you can automatically send them an access to the portal, or you can just check that to do it later. So those are the breakouts there. One of the things I like to do as well is add their avatars. So it's going to be their picture, so that once they come in, they already have everything pre-set up and they don't need to have anything else. But they can also adjust that inside of their own account. One of the things that I like to call out as well is that if I were to add, let me go ahead and add a test account here. If I were to add a member inside of here and I wanted to see what it looks like for them coming in, there's already a Marie, then I can be able to simply impersonate them. Oh, Lord. I just clicked the wrong button, but this is their profile. So getting that is the next step here. And I'll talk through this as well. So you can go ahead and set up their profile here if you chose to. You can also adjust their password if you want to. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but you have the ability to do so. Any questions? Okay. So the next thing you could do is impersonate them. So you have the ability to take a look inside of their account, because maybe they're saying, hey, I don't see the thing that you're telling me that I should see. Well, they can see what you want them to see, but you can see what they're seeing. So this is their landing page. As you can see, this is not the best dashboard, but it's one that's in here. So you can see all the custom menus that they have. If you wanted to switch easily between anyone, you can as well. You can also come back into your own account, so you can do that there. You can assign them an on-demand flow, which we'll talk about. You can also apply the generator here as well. And you can also send them an invite for here if you have not already, or if you need to resend it, you could do that as well. Teams is pretty much the same space, but the only thing that you're doing here is just adding certain teams and then putting certain members in that team. So for example, if I want to say both myself and my test account is going to be on the test team, I can put that there. And now I can also create a team chat for this, which is inside of here that I can also mention as well. So the team chats are going to be up here in these live chat section here, and you can be able to look at the channels and also see any mentions. This does not work externally, it just works in-house. So just keep that in mind, that if you are communicating with a client or a team member. So the last thing we're going to talk about in this video is going to be the custom content. So the custom content is going to be categories, custom fields, So the last thing we're going to be talking about is going to be the custom content. It's going to be categories, custom fields, currencies, tags, payment types, pop-ups, notices, and then the translations. In this menu items, it's going to be specifically just the categories we're going to talk about first. Categories are used within the entire system. So for the specifics, you want to take a look at what the actual labeling is for. So this is CRM company. So these are going to be how you label companies. Please keep in mind that even though you have the ability to delete these, you only have one of default one that you can create. So if I wanted to delete any of these, then yeah, I can delete all of them and I can create new ones. And it'll be the type based on what I'm choosing. So I can call this test. And I can create it and make it a default if I wanted to, but that's the deletion here. If you're using the CRM deals, you can also create your deals as well, where you can change and say this is going to be inquiry, this is going to be contact, things like that. You can make those deals, you can make them default, and that's going to go there. For events, when we talk about events, this is going to be the same thing where you can create those. So all of these are all customizable. It is based on your needs. And so I like to use any of these and kind of delete them and adjust them as needed. The one thing that I would say is that inside of the task statuses, which is in the task build out, you cannot change these. You cannot delete them. So you can only set a default. You cannot rename them. And sometimes it's not going to be what you want. So it doesn't always mean that you're going to use the open task status or the assigned task status. These are just non-negotiables for SuiteDash. You can't change that. And then for the types, you can change these. So you'll have to just create these custom spaces. There is a work space page, but people don't really use this anymore because it was a beta, but I don't believe that they kept working on this. So it kind of just expired in its own way. But you can create plans, LMS products, and things like that. So for custom fields, with custom fields, there are a plethora of custom fields that you can create. Once you create them, you can, because they had a transition of the hierarchy of a company, there's a maintenance button. This just allows you to transfer things from a private contact to a company private. So we can discuss that a bit later. In these custom fields, please note that the field name cannot be changed. So once you set it, it's set. The way that I like to set these field names is by simply creating something that is memorable. So if it's going to be an email, this is the only email one that I will use. Granted, we have a default for emails, so there's already a custom field that you don't need to create. But let's say that you want to use one for ID handle like you have here. I would recommend you use only one label for IG handle on all of your forms. You have the ability to create a description or a prompt. This is where I would say, please enter your IG handle. And so with that being said, you would be able to have that to be the question. And then now the usage. You have a few different ways to use this. 9 times out of 10, you're going to use it for contacts. You can use this for a company public or company private, but it can only choose for one. Contacts would mean that this will be just connected to their contact profile. If it is a company that you're working specifically with, then you're going to have to create 2 types of custom fields, one for a company and one for a contact, because it will show up differently. You also have the ability to choose a category. If you had already created one inside of the category space that we've just shown, then you'd be able to create that here. And then the type. So there's a few different ones. I would recommend you going through the doc for SuiteDash to learn more about them. But it's pretty much common sense to single line text, multiple line text. What you see is what you get. It's going to be this long acronym here, and that what that does is just allows them to customize it the way that they need to. So if they want to add pictures or if they want to add GIFs or whatever it is, what you see is literally what you're going to get. You have an email field. Again, I don't recommend you using one here, but you can actually go ahead and, for the most part, just create this for different purposes. Checkbox is, again, a checkbox field, a date field, drop-down field, radio buttons, which can be used as a kind of like a multi-select one as well. And the reason why I made that is because you can select multiple ones. So you can have, just basically it becomes a checkbox. And you have different ones here that you can use. I love using the number and calculating, because with the number fields, you're able to add numbers. For the calculating fields, you can use this to do addition, multiplication, division, all of the things in here. And so this is a field that's more so used as a formula field. And you can use this with a custom field name. So if you already have a custom field, let's say that someone puts in their daily, like their weight for today, right? So if they say they weigh 100 pounds, and then tomorrow they come in and they make another input and they say I'm 60 pounds, you know, then they'll subtract that and say, oh, okay, you lost 40 pounds. So kind of doing it that way is pretty cool, but you can create custom fields around that. Questions? All right, so the next one is going to be currencies. So currencies is pretty much what you think it is. It's just setting the currency for the entire platform. You can add currencies, you can change global currencies, and you can also format the actual alignment of the currency. In the United States, we do it to the left with our symbol to the left, but you can add any currency that you want with your symbol, and you can name it whatever you need to name it. I think it has literally everything in here, but you can also add your own currency as you need to, and that would be how you set up your currencies. The next thing is going to be the tags. So people utilize tags for filtering. I have not utilized tags, but it is a useful way to go through your own filtering process. This can be added on the kickoff forms and update forms. So for this, I can utilize it for any, as you see here, CRM or LMS course. You can create these tags and separate them by these commas to kind of enter more at once, but that is the way that you'll be managing them, by managing them in this location here. You have the payment types, which is similar to anything that you can think through. It's just how are you going to receive cash? So you can be able to do cash, debit card, all the ways. You can also add your own type if you have another method, so that you could be able to have them select that method as well on the invoice. The pop-up notices are going to be what's utilized within the system and used to showcase to either roles or specific to contacts, staff, circles, or teams. So you may have seen pop-up notices come up from SuiteDash themselves, where they'll pop up new features or things like that. The great thing about this is that you can put it in different locations. So of course you can do the title, the text. You can do this as a what you see is what you get. So you can add an image, you can add different items, but you can specify where you want it to pop up and to whom you want it to pop up to. So if I only want it to be available to prospects, and I only want it to, or I want it to be prospects and teammates, you know, that's where you can do it to be, have it to be visible to them. Or you can assign it to specific contacts, specific circles, and have it kind of created that way. So I can do as many as I want, but for the most part, you have that flexibility. The other item that I love is the styling options, because you can change how the pop-up will visually show. And then you can see how the persistence of it is set up. Do you want it to be active, or do you want it to just show up a number of times? Or do you want it to always show up on every page if they have not loaded it? It's not recommended that they have showed, but it's something that it's just customizable to you. Oh, and let me actually create one so you can see what it looks like. I'm just gonna put random stuff in here and I'm gonna preview it. So as you can see, that's what the pop-up notification would be. I've seen people use this to pop up about out of office dates. I've seen people use this about announcements for different things, but it would all be managed in this pop-up location. It is completely different than announcements itself though, so please just keep that in mind, right? So the other thing that we have on the list are two other lovely items, which is going to be translation. So if you are not English speaking, or if you are if you collaborate with people who speak different languages, you're able to actually enable the translation functionality. So I think this is amazing because you're able to change it based on their dialect, their language, and you can customize it in each group. So you're able to literally change all of the items, to changing the names of things. So instead of saying no announcements, you can change it to a certain different language. You can also type a word itself. I don't know what word to type. Let's say title. And it'll show you where all of the items that say title shows up. So you can then change title in each of these so that it's all going to be consistent so that you can see it. And you can even hide the empty group so you can see all the ones that it shows up in. So it's pretty cool. For the most part, it does take time because you may want to change them one by one, things like that, but you can change it that way. And if you want to reset to default, you can as well. In this case, I don't need it, but you can always do that later. Lastly, we're going to talk about the friendly URLs. So the first thing I want to do is jump back into our custom URL first. It should be ready for us to take Control F. So as you can see, we're all checked out. So now my domain name is going to be golden.royalvaacademy.com. Within this screen, you're going to see a few things. You're going to see the ability to update your form layout. You can do the classic, which I'm absolutely in love with, or you can do the more modern, which is side by side, an image, and then the actual login screen. You have the ability to change the custom menus. You have the ability to change that logo here. You're having the ability to literally just customize it the way you want. And you also get to change the accent area for the login screen itself. And once you've done all that, you can then preview it by going, and let me show you what it looks like right now so you can actually see what it looks like now. So right now, this is what the baseline looks like. Not my logo, it's not my branding, but as you customize it, let's say that I want to do a background. This is how I add the background here. So I want to do, I don't know, I'm going to put my sister here. And it will tell you if it's too big or too small. In this case, it's not going to fit because that's not the image that can go here. So let me see if I have a smaller image that would fit here. Okay, so I do not have a smaller image, but what I can possibly do is change the split, and then this should possibly work. If it doesn't, then I can show you guys at a later time. Okay, so there we go. So now if I were to hit save and I were to adjust things on all of the other ways, I just want to show you what it looks like now. You can see that now her image is here. I can change my logos. I can change all of the other information to kind of align it with my branding. And that is how I would update this. Now, when you have your custom URL signed up, what the thing that I love is that you can create these friendly URLs. So friendly URLs would consist of like slugs, if you have heard that before. You can create them for forms, you can create them for landing pages, you can create them for all the items. What you will do is you would name this title, right? And I can actually do it this way, which will probably be easier for you to see. So let's go over to forms, which we'll discuss in a different video. And I'm going to go over to link and embed. And over here, there's a friendly URL section. This friendly URL section will do two things. It will name it for you so you can identify it easily. And then you can also create this easy naming convention that can now be utilized to take this form. So if I were to say, okay, let's go to this ticket form. Now it's going to use this domain that I've already created, and it's going to have ticket at the top. We're going to dive into what forms all entail on a later video, but now that you have that there, this friendly form there, it's going to come up to this friendly URL, and it's going to be managed here. So you can see the destination of where it's going, you can see the source that it's taking, and you can also see the ID. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Ready for the next one?